You have no place here anymore. What are you suddenly talking about? It's not sudden at all. You've always been useless. I have devoted myself to this household. Huh, that wasn't you. The mother-in-law is making a huge mistake. I am the one who has sacrificed the most for this house. As I think about this, the mother-in-law says something even more outrageous. And anyway, my eldest son and his wife are moving here because of their childbirth, so please leave by tomorrow. I haven't heard anything about that. Well, I didn't tell you, and we decided we don't need someone useless. When did you decide that? We discussed it while you were not around. It was funny seeing you live so cluelessly. This is nothing but tyranny. There's no way I can accept this. I thought my husband would be there for me, but there's no way my husband would agree to this, seeing how desperate I am. The mother-in-law laughs louder than ever before. I've known since we got married that she doesn't have good feelings towards me, but I never imagined she would think of something this terrible. It's a pity, but you can't expect that. Even he agrees that you should leave. What? Please let me talk to him first. It won't change anything, just a waste of time. I collapse to my knees. The mother-in-law peers into my face. I feel my trust and affection for my husband fading away. Now there's no need to hold back, I thought. Or really, such foolish people. If they drive me out, they won't even be able to manage living. I have the lease for the condo we're living in, which is supposed to be the in-laws' home. Moreover, I am the one paying the rent of $5,500. What happens to them is none of my concern. And now you see, there's not a single ally for you in this house. So you're telling me to leave. It will be better for you too. Go anywhere you like. I see. Understood. My decision has been made. I take out my smartphone and call the moving company. Yes, that's right. Please take care of all the furniture and appliances. What are you talking about? I'm moving out. I need to move my belongings. I see. The next day, the mother-in-law is shocked to see the movers. She and her family will see hell. I won't stop anymore. My name is Cindy Manning, and I am 43 years old this year. Currently, I am the vice president of a company I started with a friend. I live with my husband, Peter, and his mother. Peter and I met through work when I was 35. He was running a small company at the time. He was 5 years older than me and had a calm and inclusive demeanor. Will you marry me? I'm happy, but it's okay. Just leave it to me. But trust me, I had a disease in my uterus in my 20s and had it completely removed, so I can no longer have children. Nevertheless, it was comforting that he accepted it, saying it didn't matter. He was always considerate. When we went to greet the in-laws, this is Cindy. We're thinking of getting married. I see. I agree, but she's already 38, right? At that age, children. The topic of children came up, and I was startled. My heart raced and anxiety overwhelmed me. Suddenly, Peter held my hand. It felt like my heart was lightened. It's not all about children, right? Peter's right. It's not all about children. But do you have any complaints? No, not really. The mother-in-law glared at me. She looked like she wanted to say something, but was biting her lip to endure it. That was on the way back home. Well, we managed somehow. Are you sure it's okay? It's fine. My mom might have said that, but it's only for now. I couldn't help but think he was taking things too lightly. However, the saving grace was that I didn't have much to do with the mother-in-law. Then about 6 months passed. My relationship with my husband was good, and we had no particular problems. Then something unimaginable happened to the father-in-law. Why are you in such a hurry? What happened? Peter returned home from work with a pale face. It's Dad. What happened? The father-in-law had been in an accident well out and was now gone. For now, I'm going back home. Wait, I'm coming with you. We immediately headed to the in-laws' house. It took us about an hour to drive there. Upon arrival, we found that Peter's brother and his wife, Hillary, were already there. I've always found Hillary, Peter's brother's wife, difficult to deal with. This was only the second time we met, and she looked at me with disdain. "You're Cindy, right? What are you doing here? I heard that father-in-law passed away. Him, and I heard you can't have children." "What? Why do you know that?" Peter interjected before I could say more. This was supposed to be a secret, not even known to the mother-in-law yet. The fact that you know about it means, let's go see Dad first. I couldn't even look at the father-in-law's face. He had been hit by a car crossing the street. It was a fatal impact. I thought the mother-in-law would be devastated, but she seemed oddly pleased. Seeing her faint smile sent chills down my spine. When she spotted me, she slowly approached Peter. "Good of you to come." Of course, after what happened to Dad. Although she said this, her voice lacked emotion. Then glaring at me, she said, "You're not recognized as part of this family. I appreciate you coming, but could you please leave?" "Why?" "Because you can't have children, and you're not young anymore." I looked at Peter. He briefly averted his eyes. "Why?" "Well, I've been asked a lot. I couldn't keep quiet forever." Disappointed, I couldn't believe this was the same man who had once begged me to trust him. "Well, you were wrong to hide such an important thing." "I wasn't trying to hide it." "Enough excuses. Peter, say something." I mean, it seemed like he was already under their influence. Perhaps he always had been. Peter's brother appeared scared of Hillary and the mother-in-law, staying back. "Why is this happening?" "I'm sorry, but could you go back home today?" "What? I'll definitely contact you later." "Just for today." "Are you serious?" He had no words and hung his head. I couldn't understand why this was happening. "Look, don't just stand there. Go home quickly. You're in the way. Just go." I realized I couldn't stay here any longer. Feeling an indescribable sense of alienation, I struggled to hold back tears as I left. But this was just the beginning. Alone at home, I couldn't think of anything. I just sat on the sofa, staring blankly. Eventually, I fell asleep without realizing it. I was awakened by someone calling me. "Hey, wake up. You came back." I called many times, but you didn't answer, so I rushed back. Remembering what happened at the in-laws, my anger slowly began to rise. Additionally, there was a faint sweet scent coming from him. "Wait, let me explain." "Explain?" "After what you did, there was a reason for what I did." "Then let me hear it." Peter took a deep breath and began to explain. Apparently, he had acted that way to deceive his mother and Hillary. But that was hardly satisfactory. Even if that's the case, why did you need to do that? Those two are always targeting you, right? I can't stand that either, really. Seeing my husband's earnest plea, I felt he truly cared for me. "So you'll continue to be on my side, right?" "Of course." I had no choice but to rely on my husband. With the death of the father-in-law, there was no other option. The funeral went smoothly, thanks to Peter. The mother-in-law and Hillary didn't make any snide remarks during the funeral. In fact, after it ended, they looked apologetic. What's this all of a sudden? About the other day, Peter told us, and we feel sorry we said too much. Whatever the reason, please forgive us. Oh, Caught off guard by their sudden change, I struggled to find words. Then Peter intervened. Now they admitted they were wrong. Why not forgive them? If I didn't forgive them now, I felt I would look like a bad person. It was unclear if they truly regretted their actions. I hoped this would make them behave better. With these thoughts, I returned to my normal life. Things were more peaceful than I had imagined. However, that peace did not last long. I need to talk to you about something. What is it? I'm thinking about living with Mom. Why would you suddenly think that? I can't just leave Mom alone, can I? But what about your brother and his wife? Well, it seems that Hillary is pregnant. Pregnant? The news was too sudden, and I couldn't comprehend it immediately. Are you okay? I guess so. Living with the mother-in-law was troublesome enough. And now Hillary's pregnant, especially the latter. I thought it would worsen my position even more. Considering those two, they would likely ridicule me more than ever before. That came soon enough. I was invited to the in-laws' house for a celebration of the pregnancy. Well done, Hillary. Finally, I'll see my grandchild. Thank you. I, unlike someone we know, was treated as if I were invisible. However, what my husband said caught my attention. It sounded like he had always wanted Hillary to be pregnant. He had never mentioned anything like that before. After the celebration, as we headed home, I couldn't stop thinking about what had happened earlier. Once home, I confronted my husband. I want to ask you something. What do you want to ask? Have you always hoped that Hillary would get pregnant? What's with this sudden question? You said something like that earlier. I was simply happy, that's all. Really? My husband clearly seemed flustered. About living together, he quickly changed the subject, which made me suspicious. But I thought it wasn't the time to delve deeper. Now the issue of living together was more pressing. So what do you want to do? I think we should cancel the lease on Mom's apartment and move her to a new place. Does your mother know about this? No, I'm going to talk to her about it now. Honestly, I'm against living together. Why didn't you see today? If we live together, I'll definitely be mistreated. Peter hesitated. If you could firmly speak up for me, I might consider it. Okay, I understand, he said, but the real issue was still his mother. Isn't this apartment nice? Isn't it a bit too large? What, do you have a complaint? There are smaller and still nice places available. As expected, the discussion was not straightforward. The mother-in-law and I were at an impasse, neither willing to budge. Seeing this, Peter stepped in. I agree with Mom's opinion. What, you see? Peter understands, I whispered to my husband. But the rent is quite high, you know. I'd like to ask you to handle that. Why? I don't want to put any additional stress on Mom, so please. His company wasn't doing well, so his reasoning wasn't completely lost on me. What are you two whispering about? Oh, we were just agreeing to take this room. Is that so? I'm looking forward to it. At that moment, I thought Peter was just trying to save face. However, his real intentions were deeper. I soon signed the lease for the apartment, and we moved in. Thus began our life together with the mother-in-law. Initially, she helped with cooking, but eventually, she just waited for me to return home and stopped doing anything herself. Yet she was always ready to criticize. What are you doing? You're too slow. Is that so? Hurry up and get ready. At this rate, it will be morning. I can finish it quickly. Once I finished setting the meal on the table, she complained about every bite. Honesty, I was never very good at cooking, so I thought that couldn't be helped. How could you serve Peter such awful food? All this time, he never complained to me. I wanted to end this situation as quickly as possible without agitating her further, but in my heart, I thought, then do it yourself. Just then, Peter came home. What's going on here, Peter? Tell her not to serve such horrible food. Calm down, please, I said. Even Peter seemed fed up with his mother's tirades. "Enough, Cindy. Just clean this up," he said. With that, she returned to her room. While I was cleaning up the meal, Peter helped me. "What are you doing?" I asked. "I thought I'd help out," he said. "Then you should speak up to your mother more. Who do you think rented this expensive apartment for?" I said. "I know, but Peter started, but his mother's tirades didn't stop. She criticized everything I did. I wanted to make her realize who was allowing her to live here. I thought, 'Can't you properly clean or do laundry?' she asked. I was going to do that when I got back. I said, 'Excuses are unseemly. Didn't you receive a proper upbringing?' She continued. I couldn't stand her words any longer. It was one thing to criticize me, but bringing my family into it was too much. 'My family is not relevant here,' I said. 'Oh, did I upset you?' She continued to provoke me. I tried to ignore her, but she wouldn't stop talking. 'I will take care of the cleaning and laundry. Are we done now?' I asked. 'What? We're not done talking,' she said. 'I really wonder why Peter chose you.' 'Peter isn't the issue right now, is he?' I replied. 'But Peter was complaining about you just the other day,' she said. 'You really are oblivious,' she said, looking at me. If Peter really felt that way, I decided to find out for myself. I waited for him to come home from work, but he didn't return. It was past 11:00 p.m. and still no word from him. I tried calling him, but there was no response. 'What are you doing there?' she asked. 'Just waiting for my husband to come home,' I replied. 'Such a hassle.' 'Well, I'm going to bed then,' she said. Eventually, Peter returned home at 1:00 a.m. 'You're still awake?' he asked. 'I've been waiting for you to come home.' 'Your mother told me you've been complaining about me,' I said. 'It's not a big deal,' he said. 'When I said I complained, what did you say?' I asked. 'That's not important right now,' he said. 'I was frustrated by my husband's evasiveness.' 'Where have you been until this time?' 'It wasn't work, was it?' I asked. 'It was work,' he said, quickly going to bed. As if to escape, once again there was a sweet smell lingering around him. I began to doubt whether our marriage should continue. I felt no benefit from our current life. The next day, when I returned from work, the mother-in-law was waiting for me, smiling creepily, and then saying something outrageous. 'You have no place here anymore,' she said suddenly. 'What are you suddenly talking about? It's not sudden at all.' 'You've always been useless,' she replied. 'I have devoted myself to this household,' I argued. 'That wasn't you,' she said. The mother-in-law was making a huge mistake. 'I am the one who has sacrificed the most for this house,' I thought. As I thought about this, the mother-in-law said something even more outrageous. 'Anyway, my eldest son and his wife are moving here because of their childbirth, so please leave by tomorrow.' 'I haven't heard anything about that,' I said. 'Well, I didn't tell you, and we decided we don't need someone useless.' 'When did you decide that?' I asked. 'We discussed it while you were not around. It was funny seeing you live so cluelessly,' she said. 'This is nothing but tyranny. There's no way I can accept this,' I thought. I thought my husband would be there for me, but there's no way my husband would agree to this, I said. Seeing how desperate I am, the mother-in-law laughed louder than ever before. I've known since we got married that she doesn't have good feelings towards me, but I never imagined she would think of something this terrible, I thought. 'It's a pity, but you can't expect that even he agrees that you should leave,' she said. 'Please let me talk to him first. It won't change anything, just a waste of time,' she replied. I collapsed to my knees. The mother-in-law peered into my face. I felt my trust and affection for my husband fading away. "Now there's no need to hold back," she said. Just then, Peter came home. I rushed to him immediately. "Your mother told me what's going on," I said. "Ah, she already talked about it," he replied. "What?" "Sorry, but you're no longer needed." Thinking about it, it's strange. You can't have kids. Strange. You knew that before we married, didn't you? I said, "I thought it was okay at first, but now I realize it was a mistake." Peter was indicating he would abandon me if that was his intention. I had my own plans. I thought, really, such foolish people, they can't even manage their lives. If they drive me out, Peter and his mother had grown too comfortable with their current life, forgetting that the apartment they lived in was actually leased under my name. Moreover, I was the one paying the rent of $5,500. What happened to them was none of my concern. And now you see, you have no allies in this house. So you're telling me to leave. It will be better for you too. Go anywhere you like, I said. I see, understood. My mind made up. I took out my smartphone and called a moving company. Yes, that's right. Please handle all the furniture and appliances. What are you talking about? I'm moving out. I need to move my belongings, I said. I see, sorry, I intended to show them hell. I was unstoppable. The next day, I had a suggestion for the mother-in-law. The movers will be here in the afternoon. Why don't you go out somewhere? You're surprisingly understanding, she said. It's just my stuff that's moving. Indeed, that's a good idea. Please enjoy yourselves, I replied. I sent off the mother-in-law and husband with a full smile, handing them about $500 as spending money. You're really thoughtful, aren't you? Peter seemed quite happy about me leaving, barely hiding his feelings. Right at 1:00 p.m., the moving company arrived. Are you sure about this? Peter asked. Yes, please take everything out, I replied. These movers were the same ones I had hired when we moved here, I thought. They seemed quite surprised to be moving everything out. Several movers started carrying out the belongings. However, there was more furniture than I expected, and it was taking more time than anticipated. What are you doing? I quickly turned around. To my surprise, the mother-in-law and her guests, who were supposed to be out, had returned, accompanied by Peter's brother and his wife. I'm just moving out my things. Why are you here? I asked. Mom wanted to see Cindy's face. But why are you taking the other furniture too? Peter's brother inquired. I responded with a laugh. I told you I'm moving out my stuff. Did you forget? But I didn't hear anything about moving everything out. Peter's brother protested. Wait, Mother, what's going on? I don't understand how it came to this, Peter exclaimed. You should ask Peter about that, I suggested. Peter then began to fumble. I didn't do anything. That's not true, is it? Why don't you tell them who bought this furniture and who has been paying the rent? What, is that true? Peter's brother asked incredulously. Oh yes, it's true. Maybe you should explain better, and maybe mention that your company is struggling too, I said. While this conversation was happening, the movers finished transporting everything. That's everything moved out. Thank you for your hard work. Please take it to the designated place, I instructed. Understood. We'll take care of the rest later, they replied. Even the typically assertive mother-in-law was stunned, staring blankly at the now empty house. How are we supposed to live now? She muttered. But what can I do? I only did as I was told, Peter protested. Stop joking. You should talk to Peter about that. I'm busy, so excuse me, I began to leave, but then Peter grabbed my arm. Wait, please, don't go. What now? Shouldn't you be dealing with those two first? The pair turned their anger toward Peter. "Both of you, calm down, calm down. This is your fault, isn't it? Really, how are you going to take responsibility? It was a distressing family dispute. Well then, you all sort it out. I have things to do. Hey, wait. I had decided to send the moved-out belongings to my parents' house for now. They had mentioned needing new furniture and appliances, so it seemed perfect." I started walking confidently towards the station when Peter's brother stopped me. "Brother, what's up?" "Actually, there's something I need to talk about." Yes. Peter's brother had always been overshadowed by Hillary, so we hadn't talked much before. We decided to go to a cafe near the station. "But is it okay to leave those three alone like that?" As you saw, my presence is pretty much non-existent. "So what did you want to talk about?" "It's about Hillary being pregnant, but there's something odd." "What do you mean?" "I can't believe I didn't notice until now." "I'm sterile." I was at a loss for words. Peter's brother explained that he had always felt something was off, wanting a second child. He thought something might be wrong, so he went to a urologist. The test revealed he was sterile. But that means Hillary's child is probably what you're thinking. Assuming that's true, it would explain the sense of unease I've been feeling about my husband. I thought I had gotten my revenge with the move, but it seems there's more to do this time. I can't just ignore it. I've been quiet until now. Then I'll help you. Please, I need it. I had been planning this since I heard their story. If I could bring those three down to hell, I'd use whatever means necessary. However, we need clear evidence. Leave that to me. I'll definitely catch them. Then should I act as if nothing is wrong? Just give me a little time." "Understood." After that, I changed my plans to return home and booked a nearby hotel instead. I decided to thoroughly investigate my husband and his family. A week later, Peter contacted me. He wanted to talk again. I immediately informed Peter's brother. "You've heard about it, right?" "The talk." "Yeah, about the discussion." "Yes, let's expose the truth there. It'll shock your mother. And there's something else you should prepare." 2 days later, we gathered at that house. It hadn't been long, but it felt strangely nostalgic entering the house. It was as tidy as the day I left. Only a table and chairs were set up for the number of people present. "Please take a seat." Thus, the family came face to face. "So what's this all about today?" "I want you to reconsider." "Reconsider?" "I've talked to Mom and the others. They're really sorry. That's why we want you to come back home." I sighed. They hadn't changed, nothing. In fact, we hadn't even reached a compromise at all. "Is that so?" I turned the question to the mother-in-law and Hillary. "Yes, Peter's right. We've realized we treated you terribly. So please forgive us." "Is that so?" They're saying this. See, I wanted to end this farce quickly. Before we talk about forgiveness, there's something I need you to hear. "What's that?" This should explain everything. I laid out all the evidence I had gathered on the table, photos of Peter and Hillary closely together, almost like a couple. "What is this?" The most shocked voice belonged to the mother-in-law. Ultimately, she too had been deceived. Isn't this proof that these two have been having an affair?" "This is fabricated." "Exactly, she's trying to set us up." Then Peter's brother spoke up. "Don't joke with me." His voice was calm, but his eyes were filled with anger and resentment. "So the two of them have been." She couldn't fully grasp the reality. "Mother, it's too early to be shocked." "Please, go ahead, brother." "First, look at this. These are the results from when I went to the urologist." Everyone peered intently at the results. Azoospermia, yes, which means I can't father children. "So whose child is Hillary carrying?" Yours, right? I pointed at Peter. We can't be sure of that yet, he said. That's right. Cindy is just being excessive then. How about we do a DNA test once the baby is born? That will clear everything up. Peter and Hillary remained silent. I have something to give to Hillary, said Peter's brother. He pulled out a divorce paper from his pocket. I had advised him to prepare it beforehand. Are you satisfied now? This way you won't have to see my face anymore. Wait, stop embarrassing yourself, I said. Seeing this, I also presented Peter with a divorce paper. Yes, from me too, I added quickly. Me too, of course. Just submit it quickly. Both Peter and Hillary were disheartened with no option but to just face the divorce papers. So they really are your children, she muttered under her breath. Then she directed an unprecedented level of anger at the two. You really deceived me, she exclaimed. Well, calm down, please. You were happy about having a grandchild, weren't you? I said, but that was because I thought they were your children together. It's too late now, Mom. That's right. From now on, the three of you can live together peacefully. I'll even let you stay in this house if you want. In this house? She exclaimed. Oh, but the rent is $5,500, just so you know. No, I can't afford that kind of money. Then please leave. I'll give you some time. After that, Peter's brother and I left the three of them in the house. I really put you through a lot, Cindy, I said. No thanks to you, she replied. I feel much better. I'm relieved to hear you say that, and there's still something left to do, like filing for compensation. That will definitely be a huge blow for them, I said. I then parted with Peter's brother and returned to the hotel. I had one last finish to make on those two. I was quite tired and quickly laid down on the bed. I felt like my phone was buzzing continuously, but I ignored all of it. When I woke up, it was 9:00 p.m. I thought, really, such idle people, I muttered. There were nearly 100 calls from Peter and his mother on my phone. Thinking I'd probably never deal with them again, I decided to call back. Hello, Peter's mother answered. You finally answered. I've talked it through with Mom. She's acknowledged the child. Now it's just you, huh? I don't understand. But why don't the three of you live happily together? Aren't you coming back? She asked. Why should I come back to a man who had a child with another woman? Please, I need you, Peter pleaded. I don't need you. Bye. 2 days after this call, a voicemail informed me that the divorce papers had been filed. It seems Peter's brother was able to divorce successfully, too. I then proceeded with the compensation claim. Peter and Hillary would definitely have to pay for their deeds. The three of them seemed to have made arrangements to move out quickly. Peter apparently wanted to remarry, but ultimately he fell out with the mother-in-law, and they no longer communicate. How are you? I reached out to the mother-in-law. I was curious about how she was living now. What do you want now? She snapped. I just wanted to hear your voice, I said. Thanks to you, we're in a mess. I heard you've been abandoned by Peter and the others. Whose fault is that? She retorted. You reap what you sow. Good luck living on your own life without the troublesome people. I was quiet and very comfortable. From now on, I would spend time and money only for myself. It's been a while since I looked forward to living alone.